Welcome to Good Morning NAB. I'm your host, Ryan Salazar. We have three really special guests today. Grant Nodine of the NHL, Tim Stevens of Verizon, the amazing Gordon Brooks, CEO of Zixi. I love Zixi technology, by the way. It's great to have you guys.
Me too.
Good morning. Happy NAB. Yeah.
I'm loving this so far.
So, Grant.
I didn't hear any love for Verizon yet, though.
I love Verizon.
I love Verizon,
Okay,
too.
yeah.
Well, does Zixi work without connectivity?
There you go. Perfect.
Exactly. So, Grant, tell us how the NHL is using Zixi technology and Verizon.
Well, actually, we're using Verizon to get signals into ZenMaster in the cloud, and we're using ZenMaster in the cloud to share a lot of signals, both with linear and more untraditional providers,
Right.
to make the ability to pull down our signals as ubiquitous as possible.
Yeah, so I have questions I'm supposed to ask, but because I'm a nerd. I love ZenMaster, by the way. The thing is so cool.
Awesome.
So I have three Zixi broadcasters in our facility, 3 different internet connections, 4 different failovers on each one in different orders. It's all fancy because I'm paranoid about redundancy.
Right.
And we have used ZenMaster before. Absolutely cool. I mean, it's all in the cloud, and you can set up all kinds of
So how
fancy
many
stuff.
sources and targets do you have in ZenMaster?
Nowhere near the amount you have. That's funny. That's funny. So, Verizon, let's talk about you guys and how you help him out.
Well, actually, with the NHL and our partners,
Yes.
Zixi, we've been doing a lot of a lot of projects together, especially around the innovation space and leveraging our 5G connectivity and edge compute, et cetera, et cetera. But mostly addressing some of the challenges that we're seeing going on in venues, right? Which is, how do you get connectivity out of the venues? How do you do remote production, which is one of the demos we're actually doing on the floor today. We were just talking actually about carbon footprints and truck rolls and all the things that are happening. And now the technology, especially with these types of resources and being able to connect compute and connectivity as kind of this ubiquitous way of moving video around, there's a lot of opportunities for us to continue to create different ways of producing content remotely, bringing all the camera feeds out to a central location, distributed virtually, virtualizing even the production environment, right? So hands-on, where I can have a technical director in one city, I can have a replay somewhere else, I can centralize them, I can just create a lot of different opportunities when all this stuff comes together. And that's where Grant and NHL have been such a great partner.
Well, there's going to be so many different pieces of content that are coming out of venues that are not similar to what we see today, which is like, so immersive is going to be a thing. I don't know if anybody's worn a Vision Pro, but if you have, immersive is going to be a thing, and we're going to need to be able to really get those experiences to end users in in new ways.
So we recently heard we heard that you recently produced a live NHL game using the cloud. Just talk about that workflow and what it involved.
Well, so we did a live game on March 22nd. The Capitals and Hurricanes in Capitol Center or Capital One Arena in Washington, D.C. And really what it looks like is very simple on the ground. It's a short little stack of encoders, and we encode all of the ISOs into the cloud, and we're pushing them into AWS. We're pushing control and data over 5G. I've got a couple of camera angles that are coming out exclusively over 5G.
Wow.
And what we're really doing is we're taking and doing all the things that we'd normally do in a truck in the cloud. That includes replay, graphics, scorebug integration, comms, audio, switching. The entirety of the broadcast is produced in the cloud, and you get some things that you don't get in a truck that's on-prem. I have access to every other signal that's from every other game that's on that night, right at my beck and call with a simple press of my replay controller.
Amazing. So what are wavelength zones? Is that a Zixi thing?
No, that's a AWS thing. But
Okay.
we're doing some unique things here at the show. We're producing 2 live games, and we're actually doing transcoding the wavelength zone, which not many people have done, and we're transcoding it to NDI to do full workflow
Yep.
in all the REMI in the wavelength zone, and then we're transcoding it back to Zixi protocol and then also to HLS. So go to the consumer, and then it'll be displayed here at the show. So a lot of firsts in terms of what we're doing.
Amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, and the wavelength zones are actually, so AWS, we have edge compute infrastructure. That's what the wavelength zones actually are, and they're integrated into our 5G network. And so what we're doing is we're actually running, those software applications at the edge, which improves obviously the latency, quality, and it just makes it more flexible for a lot of the things that we're trying to do.
Right, and a lot of us know Zixi, right, and what it does, and why the Zixi protocol even is like a really important thing because of like, maybe I'm saying it wrong, forward error correction, that kind of thing. Like, you just don't have a problem with Zixi.
Right, right. There's also some interesting things that when we're doing transport stream and we're egressing out of the cloud, we compress null packets. So we were looking at one of the feeds, and it's what's the bit rate?
It's about a 20% bandwidth reduction or 25%.
The one we were looking at was the game I was looking at was about 40% reduction in bit rate.
Amazing.
And then it's uncompressed on decode, so back to normal. So
right, and it's not like you have to turn up. Well, it depends what kind of a game you're doing, right? For Verizon, for example, if you're doing a big game and you have a lot of feeds, you need to turn up a big circuit for something like that. But Zixi can get around that too in other environments, smaller environments.
I think you'd be surprised at how much you don't have to have a giant circuit.
Yeah.
Really, because
hey, easy.
I know. I was already dancing around it. I was literally. I'm like, oh man,
thank you so much.
I'm going to be politically correct.
Is
that it? That's great.
I'm talking about orders of magnitude. Like, I don't need 100 gigs to do a broadcast. I need probably 10 gigs to do it reliably.
Yeah.
But that kind of connectivity is not considered like a crazy number in the venues anymore, right? And, thanks to the Verizon for making that the case, because it wasn't always. I've been transmitting video over IP for a long time, and it's never been as kind of low stress as it is now because of the partners that I have and the protocols that I'm working with.
Yeah, and listen, I think we're seeing, I mean, even you talked about it earlier today, right? You're going to be moving to 4K, 8K, et cetera, et cetera. So even though we're working with these very refined different protocols that are out there, and they're giving us the kind of flexibility in a smaller bandwidth window to actually create quality content for our viewers. But as Grant was saying earlier, right, we're continuing to push new platforms, new delivery mechanisms, AR, VR, whatever, all those other things that are happening. And we were talking a little bit about this earlier. We've got, for these guys, not only do you have multiple platforms that you're trying to reach, multiple consumption models, the customization of some of that's happening as well, the potential to happen as well. And all of this just keeps on growing and growing, that the more efficient you can get in getting contribution feeds out of a venue into a cloud-based environment where you can manage and create very specific offerings for your customer base, the easier our jobs get. But also, I mean, we continue to see this vision of, man, it was easy when it was like just one, like live linear. There was one channel, right? Now it's like, oh my God, it's like never ending.
Yeah, we've always wanted events to be like linear, which is basically, you have one encode to rule them all, so to speak, right? So one encode and it feeds every mouth.
You know what we're not talking about much, because we're not showing it at the show. We are doing an 8K feed with under a second in latency.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, we're just not displaying it at the show.
Wow, that's wild. Yeah, Zixi's amazing. So I just out of curiosity, so I've got my little server running my little Zixi. I mean the amazing Zixi software, but it's not like this beefy NHL server. How many feeds do you play with on those things?
So in Zen,
you're in ZenMaster too.
Yeah, in ZenMaster I have over 1,000 sources. I've got a broadcaster in every venue.
Yeah.
I've got in the cloud we're running about 7 different clusters, both because we cluster sources on one cluster in ZenMaster, and then we have a delivery cluster, a target cluster. and we spin up a cluster for every provider that we're feeding.
Amazing.
So that every provider can go into ZenMaster and have absolute visibility into our feeds and their health in their cluster.
Wow, just wild. It's just so cool. Well, thank you guys. Thank you so much. It's this is going to be an amazing show. What does a show like NAB mean for all of you?
Well, I mean, for us, it's just how many people we get to meet.
Right.
Right. We'll have. I think we'll easily meet over 1,000 people in our booth.
Wow. Right.
And so probably about 190 to 220 customers or prospects. So just very efficient. And we have, a good-sized team. We got 40 people here, so we're, spreading the love. So it's really super, and we get to hang out with these guys.
Yeah, and for Verizon, you have so many more services that people just don't even realize, right? Yeah. Just talk about that a little bit.
Well, especially, inside this space, we do a lot, not only on the contribution side, but on the distribution side.
Sure.
And what you're going to see in our booth and why it's important for us is that we keep on pushing the envelope of what's possible. Mm-hmm. Some of that could be challenging in a live environment, but, you got to take the risk reward.
Well, why have it any other way?
That's right. So there's that as well. And look, and just collectively, and I think to Gordon's point, one of the things that's great about this show is you do get a lot of folks, and we get you get clusters of customers who come together, right, which is great. So if I've got a particular client and I've got multiple stakeholders that come into the booth, and we can start to showcase and really move those conversations along, those are big pluses for us. So between being able to meet with customers directly, share some of the things that we're working on, spirit what are some of the outcomes that they're trying to go after, and really start to move in terms of those transformations, it's an exciting time for us. So we really do value these shows.
Yeah, and as an attendee, obviously you're shopping stuff. You're meeting.
Yeah, I don't do as much.
It's a family reunion too.
I don't do as much. I don't do as much shopping here as I used to. For me, it's about clearing the crystal ball and getting a fresh view on what's next.
Right.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And I think that's actually the key, because when we would walk these floors before being on the provider side of the house, you kind of walk away, because it's an overwhelming show to begin with, but you do walk away with the way, okay, this is something I need to be paying attention to.
Right.
Always, right? And it gives you either, console that, okay, I'm headed in the right direction, or oops,
right,
maybe there's something we need to be focusing on. So that's why these shows are really terrific.
Awesome. All right, Grant Nodine, Tim Stevens, Gordon Brooks. It's been what a team of awesome guys from awesome organizations here today at the 2024 NAB show. We'll be back in just a few minutes. Thank you so much, and have a great show.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Really appreciate it.